So the first episode of One Punch Man Season 3 came out like several hours ago in my head, and this video is just to give an opinion about the anime and try to find a middle ground to the overall acceptance and opinion about the series and see the direction it's going. So let's start with that. One Punch Man Season 3 episode 1 aired yesterday around 5 p.m. on my end, and I actually ended up watching the entire episode immediately it came out because I'm basically watching it because I love Jesus stuff other than I don't care about One Punch Man generally. But I watched the episode and yes, it was. I think there were three main things that stood out mostly, but the major deciding factor was it was mostly still frames for the entirety of the episode, and of course I wouldn't say that it's because there is no because it's a non-priority episode or it's not a character episode that shows. That means that it could not move. More or less, the situation would be about the fact that they shows the struggle of the anime's production as of now, and even when it did move, it was incredibly broken. So that is more of a reason for us to actually respect and not be ignorant of the situation that is going on for the production of One Punch Man. And second thing is I would like to refer to is the opening. I think the opening is by far some of the best you ever get in terms of the recent adaptation of the France series. I mean, season 3's opening truly captured the energy of Baby Metal's soundtrack, which is freaking good, and not to also waste time on the fact that the ending part of the entire song was well animated. I think everybody just losing their shit because of seeing Tatsumaki. I mean, Tatsumaki, regardless of whether they animated her or not. Regardless of whether they animated her or not, in that sense of people was already going to her anyways, so I don't think anything was special anymore. And people should stop really using that director tag of him being a director of somebody that directed entire. That's just stupid. But I think for my guesses, I feel like this was animated by Subjectivity. I think I had a discussion with some of the people I know from my Discord group, and we basically came to the conclusion that Studio Fujita and Vanoba and another animator said they worked on. So there's a high chance that we're having freelancers on the series. He did state that he was going to work on future episodes, or he has worked on several episodes later on. So it is a good sign. And the third, I think Genichiro can get the last few parts of the opening. I think that will be the part of Garo and Saitama find towards Orochi. I think it was kind of obvious considering the drawing quality and the incredibly detailed background in the shots. But the opening was really the waymaker for me. I genuinely love the inky style they used for Boros and all the other characters Saitama has fought over the series till this point. I think it was well portrayed, and aside from that and the opening, and I think the best part of the entirety of the episode for the first episode was the scene involving Fubuki's dialogue with Saitama and the rest of the group. I think it was well directed and it still captured its comedic strength. I think they did. It's just stuff they are very good at doing comedy anyways, so they have good use of comedic timing. I'm happy that Shibenaga was able to, since the storyboard, he was able to capture the comedic strength of the scenes themselves, and that is more or less everything. There is nothing really insane to go off of the first episode. But we don't know how the anime will turn out, but I do know because season 2 had a good showcase of well animated scenes in the first place. So I I don't think that there is any reason personally for me to be angry, considering that production time, the production schedule is fucked, and the entirety of the animation studio is doing their best to just juggle the time production. And imagine how the production assistants and the producers will really be feeling juggling this amount of insanity in general. And this is for the last point where I'll talk about the criticism. I think I personally don't like pointing weapon or insulting people, but it's a huge shame that people like Nicholas Light, for example, uses these his takes on animation in general is by far some of the most horrendous ones. I don't know why people are like this. The funny thing is, the news of what happened to the previous season is not new anymore. If anything, people supposed to be buttressing it more, considering that many studios that do good animation right now are having either two things: either they have time or they have staff. And I think many studios have more of staff than time, which is why studios like Mappa was able to still cook with Sukuna versus Maoraga, for example. And even though the show was barely running with an incredibly insane amount of ADs and assistant ADs and all those things, so it is clearly understandable that they are able to meet up to quality. And this is going to make my example. The thing is, animators are not some kind of tool for people to enjoy their expectancy, and because a show is popular means absolutely nothing in the realm of being animated. There are so many underrated mangas that nobody knows about or rarely know about that really deserves animation, even better than One Punch Man, in my opinion. And whether you people agree or not, it's not or it doesn't matter to me, because I read a lot of mangas, and I wouldn't want to make an example, but I think one of the anime mangas I've read that really deserves a good anime adaptation would be like the Nato Exorcist, considering how incredibly great the source materials and like make the Exorcist fall in love. It has some of the best manga panels, and it truly genuinely captured my attention when I was reading the manga. That doesn't mean Murata's art isn't good though. But personally, I preferred Mob Psycho's writing over One Punch Man. There are some things I did have problems with in the manga, but this is not a status quo discussion on One Punch Man's manga. I think in the end, people should just shut up and be patient for how the anime goes. We can't keep doing this to ourselves, and we can't keep doing this to these people. If you don't know for the entirety of the show, you wouldn't respect the work they are putting into it, might as well not watch it at all, because it saves you the pain of it. When you see good Sakuga moments or whatever makes your brain whatever tingles your brain, you can just watch those cuts and just leave it the way it is. You don't need to watch the anime. It's not difficult, because you expect an animated show to move, which is understandable. But at the same time, you can't have everything. Everybody's aware that the studio probably started their production last year, at most several months at best, several months this year at best. So we don't have a right to tell them how the anime would work, considering the fact that a huge number of in-house and some few number of freelancers are going to be involved in the project, and you expect them to do something impressive. It's completely unrealistic and immature. I know that every fandom has this problem of people always looking for some kind of excuse to insult other shows and tell them that, oh, my anime was more better animated than yours, and all those kind of brainless kind of arguments, because there is no pride in even the show you are watching anyways. If you really enjoy the show, you enjoy the show for what it is, and whatever they are able to do, when you know the context of the production and the people working on it, then the show you actually feel healthy as a person, because nobody who loves his craft, either be cooking, music, would want to serve you or give you some that sucks. that is the same for animators, because I know in the end everybody will blame animators aside from the idea of the production committee or whatever other factor is determines the production in general, I guess. Because animators will always be causing the crosshair. We say things like the animators are not at fault, but indeed what you are implying is still that the animation sucks, and because the animation sucks, it's a backhanded way of insulting the animators, and it's very disingenuous that people would actually do this. And like we've all been through this and we've all understood what is going on. So let's give respect to whatever we have right now. It's better than season 2. It's not closer to season 1. Chimbenaga said it more than once that you should keep your expectations low. But that doesn't mean you should hate on the studio. Please stop hating on the studio because many things are not in their control. So I don't find a reason to do so. If you want to compare them to Mappa, it's not possible at this point. I know them because they do have some terrible management, but at the same time, they have the talents they have at the real deal. So please, for the love of God, stop insulting the studio. I'm only doing this video personally because I wanted to vent my opinion. And the second thing is because I'm only watching the anime because it's JC stuff. And those animators were like heroes to me. So I wouldn't like, please just stop insulting the studio. It may sound like it's biased from the first place, but I remember how Bones were not able to, maybe probably due to fucked up production anyways, were not able to do the same for Mario Academia, and yet the movie everybody were like, oh my, the Bones is the best anime studio to ever exist. I remember how people would insult a studio the first day and start praising the studio the second day just because they saw flashing lights. Man, it's crazy how anime fans said you don't need to be an animator to know about animation, yet give no respect to the people who work on the thing in the first place and act like as if because you ate a food that does taste bad doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you, and you can tell that. Funny enough, people have different tastes in different things. You grow up in a culture, depends, like an example would be a culture where you are having a dialogue with someone and the person is into something you probably wouldn't eat. That doesn't mean the food tastes bad. It just means you can't eat the thing in the first place. Same thing applies to animation. There are so many things that you will argue with because animation has always been subjective. Same thing as how food has always been subjective. It's not about saying which one is good or which one is bad. You can argue that Demon Slayer is better animated like Ping Pong the animation, but that doesn't mean that Ping Pong the animation is worse animated. If anything, Ping Pong the animation is by far some of the most creative pieces of animation animated things you would see, considering how incredibly weirdly unique the animation style is. So it's the same thing. No matter how much you argue with food, if you yourself don't even know the basic things that goes into what makes food taste great, you wouldn't even be able to tell sometimes. Or you would be able to get, you would just guess thinking that, or maybe this there wasn't enough of this. And I'm not a chef, but I do cook for myself, so I do. It's not like you can easily tell like if a food is lacking salt because you know how salt tastes. It's the same thing with anything. And because the food tastes weird doesn't mean the food is bad. Because the food tastes weirdly doesn't mean the food is wrongly prepared. It's because it sometimes can be an acquired taste or something you just don't know. So yeah, that is basically my point on it. I think so far the One Punch Man episode was probably at most a 7 out of 10 for me. There was nothing to go off of. The drawing quality was amazing. I think the AD and the chief AD are really doing a lot of work for the drawing quality to maintain consistency. The opening and Fubo kissing were the things that really kept me psyched up for the rest of the episode. I think Kinjroki and other guys worked on the episode itself. I probably were somehow worked on the football kissing but I'm not sure. So yeah, we'll continue from where this goes. See you again and see you till next time.